Welcome to a special bonus edition of Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan journey. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me to discuss the just-released teaser trailer for Supergirl, directed by Craig Gillespie and starring Millie Alcock, is real-life Lobo himself, Justin DeVoe. Welcome back.
I would much rather Bernie on this episode because he's so much better than I am, but I'm a good backup, man. I'm stoked. How'd you like it?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man.
I enjoyed it. We'll get into it. There's a lot to unpack. I'm going to assume anyone listening to this has watched that 2-minute teaser trailer. Yes. If you haven't, please pause this episode, go watch it, and then come back. But yes, overall, I enjoyed it. I remain excited for the film. There's a lot to get through, but let me ask you this first. Well, A, what did you think? But also, what was the experience like this afternoon? Like, I assume you were at work when this dropped at noon Eastern?
Yeah. It showed up at work. I was on a prep period, so it was good. And of course, I went into it going like, this is going to be so packed with Lobo. And then the amount of curses that everyone's going to get today is how long he was on screen for, which is zilch none. So don't worry about it. It was cool seeing him walk in. But other than that, I was like, all right, I get it. Dude, I liked it more than I thought I was going to. Like, I wanted to see the movie because I love the book, although I think that the version of Supergirl is a little bit more like gritty. She steps on a dude's head, she kills a dragon. It's just like, whoa. But I really like that story. I love the Bilquis Everly art. And when I'm watching it, I'm like, wow, this is like beat for beat. Besides them throwing in Lobo, which you had now pointed out that Tom King said he wanted him in the book anyway. I was like, yo, this is like, it's them at the bar. It's her with the sword. It's them waiting for the bus. I was like, and its action looks good. Like it looks tight, man.
Yeah, it's wild. Well, I'll say for myself, I work from home. So I was down here in the home office / Flat Squirrel Studios a couple minutes before noon. And I turned out the lights and I popped in the earbuds and I was there ready for that trailer to drop. There was a minute countdown that started right before, and I was there.
Oh, that's cool.
But what I will say, and this was interesting, is that when the first Superman teaser dropped, same sort of setup, but I think I was there even earlier, and nervous would be the wrong word, but like my heart was pounding. Like I was so excited to see our first real look at a new version of Superman. Like I could not have been more excited. There was a lot riding on it for me.
Oh yeah.
For this
I think
one,
there's a lot riding on it for a lot of people involved.
Yeah, but for this one, it's not that I didn't care. I love Supergirl. She's part of the Super family. This film is the next chapter in the so-called Superman saga, as James Gunn has coined it. So I'm definitely interested and I'm invested, but I didn't have as much riding on it, so I could approach it from a little bit more of a relaxed standpoint. Yeah. And I think that was great. Like it was nice not to be so worried about it going in.
Yeah. I looked up the writer. She was on like Vampire Diaries and like a couple random shows. I was like, yo, they gave her a nod, man. That's good stuff. I was like that because like normally you see the person and you go look and it's like this laundry list of things that they've done. She hadn't done a ton. Like I'm not taking anything away from the chick. She's super talented, but I was like, wow, Vampire Diaries, a couple of like regular TV shows, a couple movies, and this.
Oh, the screenwriter who adapted the Woman of Tomorrow
Anna something or whatever. Yeah. I was like, yo, good for her, man. I was like, yo, give her a shot. Shit. Like that's how you find out if people are worth it. But man, I mean, like it looks great. It looks, and I know they keep saying it's true grit Superman style, right? It's following that story, which is basically what it is anyway. Ruthie looks adorable, exactly how she looks in the comic. Krem's crew comes in and all the guns come pointed at her. I was like, yo, and it wasn't like the first Superman one we got where it was like just Krypto jumping on him for a little bit. Like it was like someone on your page was like, I think the marketing for this one was better. And I agreed. I was like, I think it's because you got to make Superman. Like, I think they were all really worried about Superman because it's Superman. And when that one worked out, they're like, now we can loosen it up a little bit and have a little bit of fun. And I think they went for it, man. The trailer was good. I expected a lot less. Like I expected a lot of like the big, like long shots where you don't really kind of get anything. I was like, damn, they packed this thing.
So on the note of the marketing, it was funny because it had been announced or at least heavily rumored. I think it was more of a heavy rumor that the trailer was coming Thursday, right? Today, as of this recording. Yeah. And then the day before, I'm scrolling through social media and I see this live feed of this countdown clock in Times
It was in
Square.
New York. Yeah, they had the whole thing.
Yeah, counting down. And then I started scrambling. I'm messaging you. I'm like, I think it's going to be today. I think it's going to be a day early. It's got to be the trailer. You were convinced as well. You're like, it can't just be for a poster. But it ended up being a poster. Yeah, it ended up being a poster. And then one of these little video snippets teasing the teaser trailer. So that's what we got the day before. But the fact that they went as big as they did with that Times Square countdown and everything, and on the note of the poster, more specifically the tagline, I guess there have been a couple. The one that we had seen previously was "Look Out," which is a play on "Look Up," which we saw for Superman, which I do quite like. Here we have "Truth, Justice, Whatever," which I think is fine. It certainly feeds into the ethos of this film and the attitude that Kara has in this, and the overall vibe. Do you care for that tagline?
So I do, and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about the story and how much I liked it, but that's really the only incarnation of her where she's like nasty attitude, cursing like a sailor and the whole thing. And I'm like, and I thought about it, I'm like, you have to make that movie though, because we just had one where Superman's saving squirrels and he doesn't know why people don't get along. I was like, what better way to show his cousin who got there and was like, oh, you're grown up already. I don't have to do anything. Now I don't know who the hell I am. I'm wearing this crest. That's great. But like, all right, I'm gonna go find myself and stuff. And that's I think this storyline was the perfect one to come off of the one where everyone's like, he's too nice to everybody. I'm like, yeah, but that's what they were going for. So instead of showing another version, which would basically just be Superman, should be super nice, should be super cute, like in the current run, like it's very campy. It's like that's what you'd get. And then you get another one of these. And I think when you do it this way, you can still show her journey of just like, I don't know who I am. Like, I thought I was going to come there and I'd have this big job, and I don't have this big job. So now I got to go figure out what I got going on. And I know in the book, she's supposed to be 21. In the movie, she mentioned she's 23. I'm like, and it changes like that. I'm like, why? But at first I was like, oh, why this version? And I'm like, no, this is the only version that you can do. Because if you do anything else that's too close to the well, then you're just going to get that movie again. So I was like, no, this is the one, definitely.
So I think that this is the most critical aspect, I think, to really dissect here a bit, because I've seen a range of reactions on social media leading up to it, but especially in the wake of the teaser trailer. So like we're saying, this is an adaptation of the miniseries Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, written by Tom King, drawn by Bilquis Evely, I believe. And what's really interesting is this is, I think, the only instance of a live action DC film that's actually an adaptation. We've had a bunch of animated adaptations, but in the live action space, this isn't something that we typically see. So the fact that they're taking a comic book work and seemingly following it as closely as they are is quite notable. And one of the things that I was struck by in watching this teaser was how much they do seem to be pulling in terms of characters and aesthetic and even direct lines from the comic. Because I didn't know going in. I didn't know how faithful or loose of an adaptation this is going to be. Obviously, something like Lobo is a departure, but overall, it seems to be a pretty faithful adaptation, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's that much of a departure. You got Krem hiring people to try and take her out anyway, so he could just be one of those people. Now, here's the part where I'm like, look, I got so much love for everybody that was tagging me in it, going, I didn't know you took off of work to go be in a movie. And like, I love that, man, because the Lobo thing is really important to me. And people are like, what do you think? What do you think? And I'm like, listen, man, I said this years ago. That's the part he should have played first, because now he's just going to be Arthur Curry just with makeup on, because the personalities were very similar. But they're not forcing him into this, man. He's a bounty hunter. At one point, they ask a bounty hunter something, and he goes at so it's easy to put him in there. Do I think he's going to play a big part in the movie? No. I think it's a setup for something else. I think he's going to show up. He might even try to come at them. It depends on what kind of version of him he's going to be. He gets a job. He sees the job all the way through, which means he's going to get his ass kicked. Or he goes in, realizes something. I don't know. I don't think you're going to see him from start to finish. I think he's going to have a little cool part, and then that's it, because the story is told by Ruthie. It's her story. Supergirl's just in it. As a matter of fact, in like issue 2 or 3, Supergirl's asleep for like the first 7 pages. And Tom King really goes in on the narration, man. Like, this is not one that you're going to read in like a day. There's a lot of narration in this thing, and it's all focused on her. So it's a Supergirl movie. I wonder how much of it really being about Ruthie's journey, though. It is with Kara's journey. I'm interested to see what they're going to do. But do I think Lobo's going to have a big part? No. I think he's going to be chasing him maybe for most of the time, but I don't think he's going to be like, let's all team up. I can't see that happening.
So I agree about how I think there's a pretty seamless way to bring Lobo in, like you laid out. So I think he'll fit. I agree. I don't think it's going to be a tremendously large presence. I think it'll be enough to make an impact and set this character up, and then we'll see where he goes next. Like you were alluding to, Tom King has addressed the fact that his original pitch for the comic was a Supergirl Lobo story, and that the editors, Jamie Rich and Brittany Holzer, were like, no. And so he
said,
landed
no,
on
we
this
want
other
a True
angle.
Grit story with the,
Yes, and this is, have you ever watched either iteration of True Grit or read the story?
I didn't even know the second one was a remake. I didn't even know the first one existed. I saw I really liked it, man. I really liked it. That flick was really good.
So I've never seen either, and I've never read the original story. But
no kid, really? It's a good flick.
But I've read of it, and yes, it seems like A Woman of Tomorrow follows very closely, right? This idea of a young girl whose father is killed, and then she seeks vengeance and enlists the help of this kind of drunken, curmudgeon, reluctant hero. And so
even
I guess
down to the complexity of her syntax and diction, like the girl in True Grit is very well spoken. She's very articulate. And Ruthie is for as living on a farm, no background, no money, very, very articulate. So that even matches up pretty closely.
Yes. And so it seems like King's original intention with the comic was for Lobo to be that drunken, reluctant hero. Right. And then he pivoted and put Supergirl into that role. If it ended up being both of them in the story, I don't know how well that would have served Supergirl, because I don't know if she would have had quite as much to do. But in any event, that's kind of the comic book basis. And then Supergirl and Ruthie go on this cosmic odyssey tracking Krem, the killer. And you mentioned it's not something you read in one day. So actually, I made a very impromptu decision today to reread Woman of Tomorrow, because it had been
really?
I did the whole thing because it had been a while. It had been
because it's dense.
It's very dense.
Like wording wise, it's very dense.
It's very dense. I only read it once. I want to say 2 or 3 years ago when we covered it on the podcast. We did an episode on Tom King's Up in the Sky and Woman of Tomorrow. We are going to be covering Woman of Tomorrow again next year in a dedicated episode. And I want to be careful about spoiling anything about it, because I do get the sense, I'm sure there are folks who are excited for the movie, they watch the trip, but maybe they haven't actually read the comic. And I do encourage them to do so. So I for myself, I want to be careful. I don't want to spoil much, but that's the basic setup of this. But I did reread it today, and I did enjoy it again. However, this brings us back to, this issue you raised about the movie taking its cues from this one specific Supergirl story where she's this more drunken, angry, traumatized mess who's still getting over, or trying to get over, the trauma that she endured with the destruction of Krypton and then the aftermath on Argo City. And I never want to over generalize or paint with a broad brush, but I have gotten a sense, I think, of kind of different pockets of fandom and the way that they're approaching the movie. And I feel like there are some folks whose sole experience with Supergirl might simply be the cameo in the Superman film and or the Woman of Tomorrow miniseries. And so kind of to them, that's what Supergirl is. But I've also gotten the sense that there are more traditional Supergirl fans who take some issue with the presentation of the character that we see in the comic, and then that is being translated to the big screen here. I guess you've already shared your perspective, that you feel like this is an effective take for this iteration.
I mean, I think it has to be, because like I said, if you make her loving and flying with doves and stuff like that you see her, you're just getting a Superman movie again. Like, you're getting her probably in another city, right? Because I know that at least in current continuity, she was raised by like a very quiet fit. Like, she changed her look because she ends up going back there and another chick kind of takes her place. But like, you're getting the same story. And like, you could still have her being like, oh, shucks, like, I don't know what to do now that I'm here. But I think the trauma of this is important, especially for someone that's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just endured two life-crushing things, and I can only get drunk on certain places, so I'm out because I don't know if I'm worth anything. And I think that people are looking past the fact that it's finally like not masked to be like Wonder Woman 84, right? But I think this is like a women's empowerment flick, man. Like I really do. You got Supergirl who has like no direction at all, and she finds it through this girl. And the one thing I hope that stays in there is at one point, Supergirl's in the bathroom, she's washing her hands, and Ruthie's like, "What are you doing?" And you have such a beautiful Supergirl moment where she's showing her how to wash her hands. So amidst all of this, she steps on a guy and kills him. She basically kills a dragon by flying through him. There's still that, yeah, but that's not really me. This is me. And I think a lot of people might be looking past that, but I want that moment. I think if you don't have that moment in there, you're really missing out on why she's angry, but she's also still very sweet. And she still wants to be like a mother / big sister / big cousin to somebody. And now she's got it. So I do think that this is the right direction to go.
Yes. No. So overall, I agree. And here's what I'll say. Would this have been my instinct for where to take the character on the big screen? Probably not, but I understand the choice that they made. And I think there's validity to it. And I think this can work. I think when I look at the character of Supergirl and her many iterations across time and media, and by the way, we're going to be talking a lot more about that on the podcast next year. Yeah. So in much the same way as we had an unofficial subtitle change last year and we became Digging for Kryptonite, a Superboy fan journey, we're going to be doing the same thing with Supergirl. We're going to be spending
awesome. I love that.
months in the lead up to the movie charting this character and the different versions of Supergirl across time and media. So that's coming, and we're going to be getting into all of it, and I'm very excited. Because for as long as I've been doing this, like this still represents kind of an untapped pocket of my fandom. So I'm very excited to get into that. But even at this point, kind of what I've observed, I think for me, a critical aspect of really kind of maximizing the value of this character is accentuating the ways in which she's different from Superman. I do feel badly to always beat up on the Melissa Benoist Arrowverse series because I did enjoy a lot of it. But when I take a step back and I look at the sum total of that show, it's just like she was too similar to Superman. And they co-opted so much of the setting, the supporting cast, the villains. You want to have that distinction. Now, does it have to be this specifically? It doesn't. And what I would point to, I think the kind of the mid-aughts return of the Kara Zor-El iteration of the character in comics and on Smallville. Right. And I'm talking about the Jeff Loeb, Michael Turner, Superman Batman arc. Yeah. I'm talking about the Jeff Johns, Gary Frank Brainiac storyline, post Infinite Crisis, like that era of the character. I think those stories did a good job of tapping into the fact that she didn't grow up on this planet. She grew up on Krypton. Right. She has these memories. She is traumatized by Brainiac's bottling of Kandor and the stories that she heard about that. So I feel like those stories we're getting at exactly what I'm talking about, like drawing those lines between the characters so that she's not just a female copy of Superman. Obviously, this takes it in another direction, but
she would be. And maybe when they were thinking about writing this flick, they're like, well, let's take it in a different direction. And finally, someone was like, that exists, right? Like we can pull it directly from a book that's already out there. And just real quick, so just to touch on what you said about like maybe not a lot of people read it because it's Supergirl and stuff like that. People have to stop doing that because I just finished off Jamal Campbell. He wrote and illustrated a Zatanna 6 issue. It was so good, dude. It's amongst one of my favorite runs of any comic anywhere. But a lot of people might have been like, I don't want to read a Zatanna book. You have to stop thinking about it like that though, right? Like there's so many iterations of these characters. You might not vibe with the character, but you might be like, damn, that's a really good story. It's like, I don't know. Like, it seems like you're cutting your nose off to spite your face to be like, well, I don't want to read that character. Yeah, but like the story might be dope. Or if you hear the story is dope, why not read it anyway? There might be something in there for you. And for me, dude, I was so far behind that I managed to read like 1 through 6 straight in a day. It's so good.
Yeah, no, and certainly as far as One of Tomorrow, I certainly encourage people to read it. And what I was very, very happy to see is at the end of that teaser trailer, you see right there on the screen, read where it all began. And you see the cover of the graphic novel. So that's great. I love that DC is doing that. And hopefully that encourages people to check it out. I'll also say, kind of tying it back to what I said before about being less invested in Supergirl than I am in Superman. And so for those more kind of ardent old school Supergirl fans who bump up against the Tom King iteration of the character that we're seeing on screen now. I know it's easy for me to say, hey, keep an open mind. I know what it's like, and you know too, like when you feel strongly about something. But like I said, as far as kind of keeping an open mind, one of the other big things that, or actually two things I think is really important for all of us to keep in mind. Number one, and I do think people understand this, even the folks who were kind of expressing some discontent with this presentation of Kara. I know they get this. Characters have to have some place to go. Like we have to have some sort of arc. So even though, yes, we open this trailer and Supergirl is clearly dealing with the hangover and she's got the glasses on and she's out of it and all of that. And then she's going to this red sun planet to drink and party for her birthday. That's not to say that that's exactly how she's going to be at the end of the movie, right? So we want to give these characters somewhere to go. And I do understand for folks who are like, yeah, I get that. I understand how stories work and we need to have emotional arcs. I just don't want to see this one. Like, fair. Like, that's fine. But I do think, I have to imagine that's a big part of the reason why they went with this take, because it does give you, not only does it give you more of a distinction between Kara and Kal-El, but also it really gives her some place to go over the course of the movie. And there's something valuable about that.
Like now you get to see her start off being like, I don't want to do anything. She tells Ruthie in the beginning, she's like, I ain't helping you, man. Sorry. And then she gets attacked and she's like, all right, fine, I'm in. Right. But like now you get to see her maybe become what people are looking for. But it's like, I always say this, especially because social media, man, like how many people are complaining because they genuinely feel that way. And how many people could not wait to sit in front of their phone and pitch a fit about dumb shit. Like that's where my brain goes. I'm not saying they don't like the character, but you watch this trailer knowing that it was going to be based on Women of Tomorrow. You knew it. So when you watch the trailer, what'd you think? They were going to fake you out? You knew it was coming. So you could have got all that out months ago. Like I've known about when the actress Millie Alcock, she got the book open. That's the first picture that they took. You knew it was coming. So you can't watch it and be like, oh my God, why can't you believe it? We knew about this for a minute.
Yeah, no, for sure. By the way, I think it's funny that, here I am defending Woman of Tomorrow as valid source material for the movie. Regular listeners know. And by the way, if you're not a regular listener, like if you're just tuning in because you're curious, you want to hear talk about the trailer, please join us. We've talked about so much and we'll continue to. So check out our other episodes. I'm not a Tom King guy.
And I so am.
And so it's one of those things where it's not like I'm sitting here, I'm like, I love Tom King. I love everything he writes. Like, this is going to be great. No, far from it. In fact, the only things of his that I really have gravitated to have been that Up in the Sky miniseries and Woman of Tomorrow. So I say this as someone who's fairly skeptical when it comes to this particular writer. But I did find that story valuable. But on the note, this was the other big thing that I wanted to hit on. And you were getting at this when you were citing that scene from the comic where Kara teaches Ruthie how to wash her hands.
Yeah.
And this is great. But she's like, we've been traveling in space for a month. Like, have you not been washing?
Yeah.
Right. That's just one example of the kindness in the comic.
Yeah. One.
That
like,
Kara,
that's just the first one you get in the beginning.
That Kara displays, because we get to this point where they're tracking Krem. And again, I don't want to spoil too much, but he's linked up with these space pirates, these mass murderers. I mean, they're committing genocide on planet after planet. And Supergirl and Ruthie are seeing the aftermath of this. And there's one especially affecting scene where Supergirl takes over for this grave digger and digs all the rest of the graves that he was toiling over. And that, like I said, like those are just a couple of examples. There's so much of that throughout the book. And yes, the Woman of Tomorrow miniseries starts with Kara drunk in a bar on a red sun planet. That's not how she is over the course of the story. Now, is she perhaps more of an angrier iteration of the character? Perhaps, but it's not like she's a drunken mess throughout the whole story. And you see that kindness and that compassion on display throughout. It is couched within the fact that there is this unbelievable trauma she's lived through in terms of the initial destruction of Krypton and then escaping under the domed Argo City. But even then, people start dying from kryptonite radiation. Then they create these lead shields. But then there's this meteor shower or whatnot, and what's left is falling apart. And that's when she's placed in this ship. So she's experienced the death of her home like 3 times over. Yeah. So I feel like that characterization tracks. But like I said, I think it really is important, as much as even we are like saying, yeah, there's like this drunken party version of the character. even that is fairly limited. So I think we all need to go in with an open mind, because even looking at the comic this is based on, it's not like that's how she is for the whole thing.
Yeah. Also, speaking as the resident alcoholic, right? It's kind of like when I brought up about this, the Batman v Superman thing. If you've never been in a fight around a lot of people and you're using everything as a weapon to try and hurt somebody else, and you're stuck in the throes of it, you're not worried about collateral damage. You're worried about doing as much damage as you can to stop the fight. And as someone who still every day, because it's always there, man, it's a dark whisper. Once you start drinking, really drinking, and if you have what we call an allergy to alcohol, you are nasty, you are mean, you are not like yourself, and every problem that you have is now exacerbated to the 50th. So when I started reading, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. So when people are like, I don't understand why because he's trying to make a complex version of a character. She goes and gets drunk on this planet. If she's like me and a lot of other drunks out there, she gets mad when she drinks. She doesn't care about anything when she drinks. She tries to forget about everything when she drinks. And that's how we act in situations like that. So if you're like, I don't know why they went with this character, maybe, just maybe, he's trying to make someone that is superhuman human, so we can understand what it's like to go through that. Because when people are like, well, why? 2 planets dead. Now she's got all this other stuff going. What do you mean, why? Right? Like, do you want perfect in every situation? Because they used to write comics like that, where it was all like, hey, bud, pow, bang, and I'm going to go. Like, it's not that anymore. We've grown up, and the comics are growing up with people. So speaking as a horrible alcoholic, now sober for many years, I get that. Even in the worst situation, you're like, I'm not helping anybody because I'm a piece of shit. And that's just the way it's going to be. So when I read it, I was like, this means something. And before anyone rags on it, bear in mind, there might be people that, just like we talked about before, that it means something too. You might not like it, but that doesn't mean you got to be like, like, just let it go, man. So if you don't like this iteration, fine. But like I said, if you got another one, it would be another Superman story that when it did not work and did not do well, they'd be the first people to be like, well, all they did was remake Superman again. Okay, now you're not getting that. So wait to see what happens, because I was stoked about Thor Love and Thunder. Christian Bale's going to play Gore. This is going to be great. And I left and I wanted to burn everything to the ground. Just wait till the flick comes out. Now, if you didn't like the iteration, fine. But if you don't like the iteration, and that's going to stop you from seeing the movie and supporting a medium and a character that you like, I think your priorities are messed up.
No, man, I hear you now, and I'm glad that the comic and now this forthcoming movie like resonate so much. And I hear you on that. And yeah, I guess my ultimate point is that, you know, for fans who feel like this is too much of a departure for the character, like I said, really take another look at that comic. And yes, I know we can point to examples where maybe she's a bit more violent or she's cursing, but I think when you look at the total of that story, more of that core of what we associate with Supergirl, I think, is there than we, including myself, might remember about Woman of Tomorrow. That's why I wanted to sit down and read it again, because I think I did have this view, and I think my position has been like, hey, it's a little odd. Like they would pick this one story that's such a departure and base everything on that, but maybe it's not as much of a departure. And again, I think she's
also in an altered state. She's in an altered state the whole time. Well, she's either drunk or got a hangover. She's either drunk, got a hangover, or she's dealing with the death of millions. She's either drunk, got a hangover, dealing with that, and now she's dragging this kid across the galaxy to try and make sense of who she is. That, to me, that's a story. That's beautiful storytelling. It might not be the version that you like, but that's the version that they're going with. And we talk about this all the time. It's just like, yes, people are not like, and then one guy's like, well, why not just make a Power Girl? Because she's angry. Well, because she's angry.
Well, right, wait, hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Because I feel all right. I don't want us to get too far down this field of like we have to defend it to everybody. Yes, there are folks who are detractors. I think there are a lot of folks who have enjoyed it as well. So yes. Right. So I think I hear you. But I think I think we've kind of made the case for why this can be a valid take. You know, the other thing on that note that I want to say is that, you know, when it comes to Tom King exploring kind of the trauma and the mental health issues, which is a hallmark of his work, with Supergirl in particular, I think the things that I've always kind of gravitated to, the fact that she was sent here to care for baby Kal-El and he's grown up by the time she arrives, the fact that she grew up on this planet as opposed to being raised here from being an infant. But I think what Tom King did tap into well in the Woman of Tomorrow miniseries is that trauma of living through the death of her home, like I said, multiple times over. And I think that's an aspect of it. And especially when we get to issue 6 of the miniseries, and that's where he's really, really kind of taking us through it, because she had told the story to Ruthie and now Ruthie's recounting it. I feel like I don't know, it just really hit home, like how traumatic that would actually be. And I feel like that side of it, and maybe there are exceptions that I'm just not aware of or I'm forgetting, but I feel like that's not often hit as hard. And so I think in that context, right, the version that we see here tracks even more.
Yeah.
Now, not to shift to something frivolous, but we open here. The teaser trailer opens with Crypto knocking over a bottle, right? And then it hits the turntable and we get the record start to play. It's Call Me by Blondie. That's the song. That's the soundtrack to
great version playing on the trailer too. It fits.
Yeah, it was fun. I think it suited the trailer well. And then, of course, we have Crypto peeing on a newspaper that has a story about Superman, but also Supergirl. Like the headline is Superman, saves city from nuclear reactor or something like that. And then kind of the smaller story is Supergirl rescues cats. But so they are both on that newspaper. And the reason I bring it up is I feel like I've seen a bunch of people who take issue with literally pissing on Superman. I would be the first one to defend the character if I felt like the character were being disrespected. I didn't take it that way.
If you look at the two, he's got the big headline. Remember, she was going there to try and raise him. He's got the bigger headline. She's got the smaller one. If you don't see the metaphorical link behind that, I can't spell that out to you, man. Like I can't. She has a thing where she's doing the same stuff and she gets recognized for BS and he gets the big thing. Like no one's pissing on Superman. That's not what it is at all. It's pissing on the fact that she was there to do a job and she's doing great things too. And she gets a byline that's this big about some BS. And I think that's what's being pissed on. It's that idea that like, I don't know who I am. And now kind of who I am is already there. And that's how I saw it. But then like you said, James Gunn and his not love of, I'm saying this facetiously, hurting animals. Crypto takes an arrow in the collarbone, man. Like I wonder how much of that is going to be in there. Like he gets hit with an arrow, man. Like it's no joke.
Yeah. Well, so the last thing on the pissing thing, again, for anyone who needs to hear it, it's like as someone who's fairly sensitive to respecting Superman, like I didn't feel like it was purposely trying to take a dig at the character. I think it spoke more to kind of what you were mentioning. Yeah. But yeah, as far as Crypto, and I guess this kind of feeds into a larger question that I have about, even though this seems to be fairly faithful, yeah, I'm curious because the comic does get quite dark, and I'm curious how far it will end up going. So yes, in the comic we have Crypto getting injured, shot with the poisoned arrow, right? And then that becomes, at least on the surface, part of why Supergirl is tracking down Krem to find out what poison was used. There's a bit of a twist with that, but I won't spoil it. So I wonder how far we'll go with that. Like I was saying before, in the comic, you have Krem linking up with these mass murderers. I mean, we see the aftermath of multiple instances of near genocide. I do question, I wonder how hard the movie is going to go on that front. And I want to circle back to something you were saying before, because this is a great point. And this was something that I was thinking about as I was rereading the comic. The comic is Ruthie's story. It's from Ruthie's perspective. Yeah. Supergirl only enters the picture when Ruthie goes to the tavern seeking out this bounty hunter, and Kara happens to be there. So I'm curious, perspective-wise, what track the movie will follow. I mean, just from this teaser, it seems like we're starting with Kara and following her. So I don't think it's going to be the same point of view. Hopefully I don't know whether that's, I mean, I don't know if, and I don't know that I would even make a case like, oh, it should be Ruthie's story. Maybe not, to be honest, but that was one of the things I was wondering.
It can't be, but it does have to be shared. It does have to be shared. I think to your point with the genocide thing, I think at one point she's like dug in the dirt and it looks like she's crying. And I think that knowing what she just came out of, when she does track them, you better show a bunch of dead people, because that's her reliving now for the fourth time, her seeing all of this again. Now it's not her people, but she's going to see it that way. So I think that if you're telling this flick the way that you want to tell it, you got to go all the way in, man. Like if you're going to adapt it and be proud of that adaptation and not calling it Flashpoint, and not Flashpoint. I think if you're going to do it, you go all in, man. I think you're going to make a really beautiful story of an emotional journey with someone whose sole purpose was to help somebody and raise them and do right. And now she's kind of like in that situation and she has to relive all of this stuff with these horrible people. I think if you're going to do that, you got to do it. I think you'd be doing it a disservice if you don't.
Now, you mentioned James Gunn and his penchant for putting animals through the ringer. And as much as we've all been talking about James Gunn because he's the architect of this DCU, he's not the director of this film, right? We have Craig Gillespie. Are you familiar with his other work?
No, I don't think so.
So yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff, including I, Tonya, the Tonya Harding movie with Margot Robbie.
Get out of here, the one with Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
No kidding.
He did that. He did Cruella, the live action Cruella with Emma Stone.
Oh, you know what? I did hear that. Okay. All right.
And he was a producer and directed a bunch of the Pam and Tommy episodes, the Hulu series. Okay. Beyond that, I'm not terribly familiar, but I've seen those projects and I've enjoyed them. I don't have like the strongest opinion, but I definitely, like I said, I've enjoyed the works of his, that I've seen. Now, I'm really not familiar with our lead actress here, Millie Alcock, other than her cameo. I've really not watched Game of Thrones generally, and I specifically haven't watched House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon, she's in.
I had no idea. The only thing that I saw when I saw her, I told Sean from Fat Moose, shout out Sean from Fat Moose Comic, was she looks like a Bilquis Everly drawing. She's very sharp. It's almost like they looked at the picture and was like, who can we get that has the same features as she does, man. She looks like she walked right out of it. I think it's great.
Yeah. No, I'm on board with her cast. It's funny because my son, who's 6, is very into the zombies movies on Disney. Mm-hmm. And the lead actress in that is Meg Donnelly. Now, she voiced Supergirl in the Tomorrowverse animated movies.
Okay.
And she apparently the role in the live action film came down to Millie Alcock and Meg Donnelly. So she was
kidding.
Yeah, so I think ultimately the right call was made, but as someone who has now watched a lot of these zombies movies, or I've watched all of the zombies movies multiple times and I've heard the soundtracks over and over and over, there's a part of me that's like, oh man, like it would have been cool if this had been Meg Donnelly. But no, I think she's great. I'm excited. And on the Lobo front, just today I saw an interview or a quote from producer Peter Safran, who talked about how gung-ho Jason Momoa has been for years about playing Lobo. In fact,
and he has been, like, I know that because he's talked about it. It wasn't like the Rock thing where it's like, I followed this my entire, yeah.
But apparently, according to Safran, like even on the set of Aquaman, he was saying, and this is a direct quote, I'd rather be playing Lobo, which I have to admit.
Well, good, because he kind of did.
But I do find that a little disheartening. I won't lie, if that was kind of the attitude as he was doing what I think was a great job as Aquaman.
Yes, but I think that, I don't know, like a part of me still thinks that dude just took the role because he wanted to be involved. And they were like, you want to be Aquaman? He's like, yeah, fine. Like, I don't know if that was a thing where he got super excited for. And it's like everyone says, and I see it posted all the time. So we're just going to get like Aquaman with makeup. Yeah, we are. That's the version that we wanted anyway. Like, why would he change anything? He was bred for this, man. He looks perfect. He looks perfect. He acts perfect. And he's also just happens to be, from what I understand, a really good dude. And this is what he's wanted. A year ago, he's like, he went live and he's like, I got to tell you guys something and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, I wonder if that's what it was. Of course, that's what it was, man. They came a knocking. Of course, he's going to want to throw on the white and the black and the vest and stuff. He's stoked, man.
Yeah, right on. And then, one of the moments that I was so happy to see in there and I'm so intrigued by is Ruthie asking about the destruction of Krypton and what it was like to lose everything in a day. And then we get a direct quote from the comic where Kara says, Krypton didn't die in a day. The gods are not that kind. Yeah. And we see this imagery of the dome forming over Argo City and what looks to be a funeral procession as they're all dressed in white.
Yep, funeral procession. At least that's what I thought it was.
And we know that David Krumholtz is in this movie as Zor-El. I guess one of the things I'm very curious about coming off of the Superman movie and that message from Jor-El and Lara about him being sent to rule over the Earthlings.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very curious to what extent we're going to get any insight into that side of things. My gut, I could be wrong, but my instinct is that we're not going to get much of that other than maybe we'll come away, and this ties in with the Woman of Tomorrow comic, like coming away with a sense of the Kryptonians really being this more cold, scientific people. And maybe that would be a way to sort of account for a little bit of that. But I could be wrong, but I don't expect to see that message unpacked in a meaningful way, but we'll see.
I also don't want anything Superman in this movie besides the picture that's getting peed on. Maybe a post-credit sequence, but like, again, let this girl have her movie, right? Like, you don't need, like, look, man, Superman did well. Everything's going right. Like, the wheels are spinning. We don't need now a bunch of other people, like, because that was the mistake that was made the first time. Let's throw everybody in everyone's movie. And then everything became just one big cluster F. And it was just like, we don't want that. Oh, we got to do it right. We got to do it right. Now it's being done right. So if people are like, oh, I want to see Superman in the movie. No, man, you're going to see Superman in the next Superman movie, which you are getting. Let Supergirl have her flick. It's a powerful story. It's going to play out great. That's what I want. So no, I don't think they're going to go into that message at all. Like, I just don't.
Yeah, I think overall I agree with that. I'm sort of ambivalent as far as whether or not I want a Superman cameo. I mean, I guess I would be a bit surprised and disappointed if he's not there in any capacity, including a post-credit scene.
I think you're getting a mid-credits or a post-credit.
Yeah. I mean, but part of me...
At best.
It's like, and I don't expect that they'll tell us ahead of time, but part of me is like, just let us know. Like, one of the things that I think I tire of is the speculating about it. Even as we are sitting here speculating about what's going to be in the movie. There's a part of me that's like, oh, like, is he in the movie? Is he not in the movie? Like, I would love to just know. We are going to hear
him a lot, because if the one thing you've seen, people attack her all the time. As a matter of fact, Ruthie says it happens more than I want to say it. Every time she shows up in a place, people got a problem with something that Superman has done and put away to criminals and stuff like that. So you're going to hear him a lot. And I think that's only going to play into the fact that this girl feels like she has no identity. So you're going to hear it ad nauseum, I think.
That was an angle from the comic that I really liked. Like you said, having all of these people come after her, seeking revenge for things that Superman did to them, bringing them to justice. I like that angle. I do hope we see that. You also mentioned that scene, that moment in the teaser where she's falling to the ground on that fairly desolate looking planet.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the planet from the comic where it's a green kryptonite sun. And I paused it, and it looks like, I mean, I don't know. It looks like we have two light sources on the right-hand side of the screen. It looks like we have a red or yellow. It could be either setting sun, but then on the left-hand side of the screen, you see a green glow.
Right.
So I don't know. So I do wonder, and there also could be a bit of editing trickery for the trailer. So I that's one of those things from the comic that, I'm curious, like, again, how much is going to stay, and her being trapped on this green kryptonite sun planet would be interesting to see. And I wonder if that's from there, but we'll find out.
But I will tell you this, for the amount of cool stuff that they're putting in there, if they don't use their one F for a PG-13 movie, and word for word, homie, beat for beat, are you Supergirl? Well, let me see. I got this red and yellow insignia on, this totally fashionable dress. Who the do you think I am? If they don't have that in there, it is a swing and a miss, man. That is a perfect intro to that fight, to whatever fight they're going to have. That scene has to be in there. That's an amazing scene, dude.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to use your one F-bomb, I feel like that is the place. I do feel like that's the place to use that. We also don't see her in the costume really until we get to the deeper part of the teaser. Are you pleased with? And I know obviously we had gotten a glimpse of it in the Superman cameo. Are you pleased with the look of the costume?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I also heard when everyone's like, oh, it's like Guardian, because she's got a big duster on, and she even has the headphones with the orange. But I think that was thrown in as like a love letter. Like I do. Like, of course they could have picked different headphones, but they're not. James Gunn's their dude now, man. Throw him a little bit of love with the headphones with the orange and let it go. Like, it's fine, man. It's like if I would, like, look, if I had a podcast, then I would drop Sean's name, Sean from Fat Moose, right? Like, if I do that, it's a love letter to that shop and shit. So if it's just like, yeah, man, of course she's going to have those on. Let him do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fine.
I know I've seen a good bit of that today as well about like, oh, it's just like Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, yeah, I guess that you have this spacefaring adventure and a kind of unlikely hero in this instance, and you know, maybe more of like a rocking soundtrack. But I mean,
but that's the story.
Yeah,
they're not remaking another story to look like it. That's the story. Yeah. That's what's happening. They're not saying, oh, well, we're going to do something that's already been done. Yeah, they're doing something that's already done in the pages of a book that was written. That's it. That's what you're getting.
I think two moments that really stood out to me about this teaser trailer, and I imagine made an impression on other folks as well. One is when Kara and Ruthie are surrounded by all those guys.
Oh, and all the laser. Yeah.
And she's like, this is not going to end well for you guys. I thought that was great and really summed up this character. And then towards the end, when Ruthie says, what's Superman like? And Kara says, he sees the good in everyone and I see the truth.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that as another way to kind of draw this distinction. And I also don't take that as the movie certainly putting Superman down. I don't even necessarily take it as her putting him down, but her perspective is a little bit different. So the fact that she would see things differently, like that tracked me. I like that as a way to differentiate the two of them.
Dude, I've said stuff like that about my friends. They've said it about me in times where it's just like, no, this person's this, but I'm like, I'm not ragging on a person by doing it. I'm telling the truth. A friend of mine likes to trust everyone, likes to see the good in everybody. It's the way he is. I don't. That's not ragging on that person. It's telling the truth. Like, of course, like, see, but again, I think as soon as they saw the P, it was just like, oh, like they're trying to, no, they're not. They're not. And if you think they are, you're looking way too far into it because you want something to complain about. It's not. She's telling the truth.
Did this movie make you any more excited than you already were? Like, did this move the needle for you, so to speak? Yeah.
Yeah. That look, I was raised by a single mom. So a lot of my favorite heroes just happen to be heroines, right? Like, you know, me, come on, I'm Wonder Woman now today, right? Like, I love a good, strong female lead. So knowing that the story was that, and it's a woman looking after a younger girl against these horrible people, I was like, I'm about that story, man. Because again, all that stuff makes me think about my mom. So I was excited about it anyway. When I saw the picture with her with the book open, I was like, dope. When I saw this trailer, I was already excited. This ramped it up even more. I was like, this is going to be a kick-ass flick, man. And I think it's going to do, I genuinely think it's going to do really well, man. I think people are going to be running to see this one, man. I hope so. Because again, it's a great story was told and they didn't have to change much. So I'm looking to see it all play out. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like, I don't know that I could really say it moved the needle much for me. Like, I was intrigued and excited before, and I remain that way. I think based on reading the comic and seeing that cameo in Superman when she comes to retrieve Crypto and she calls him a bitch, and there's this line about her going to red sun planets to get drunk. This was generally kind of what I was expecting, but I would say I was pleasantly surprised by not wildly surprised, but nevertheless, like it. You know, you never know for sure until you actually see the footage. And so overall, like I was pleased with what we saw, and I remain excited. And like I've been saying about this DCU generally and the Superman movie, it's like, you know, was that Superman movie like everything that I would have done exactly? No, of course not. But it did enough of what I wanted it to do, and it captured the core of the character. And I feel like it launched this version of the character and this world successfully. And now the fact that, I mean, this is amazing to me. The fact that Superman is at the heart of this new DCU, that we have a Superman movie, then the next summer, a Supergirl movie, then the summer after that, the Man of Tomorrow movie, like amazing. Like,
yeah. And stuff in between. Like, I remember years ago, you were like, you know, at D23, they got the big board. And they're like, and then they showed one for DC. And I remember you were crushed about the big board being like Blue Beetle and Black Adam. And that was it. Now we got it. We got it, and it's moving forward, and TV shows are planned, and animated stuff is planned. It's big, man. It's big. They're doing it, and they're doing it right. They're taking the necessary steps, and I think now it's being executed properly. I think before they were trying to race after Marvel, and they didn't have to do that. They could have just told good stories. Yeah. But now we're getting it. Now we got a big board. We got a really big board. So it's like, all right, well, let's roll in, see what happens.
Yeah. And to answer the question I posed to you that I forgot. I dig the costume as well here. You know, we get the bigger belt. I feel like that's a key distinction with the Woman of Tomorrow version of the costume. But No, I dig it. The fact that it's a skirt, you know, and I don't say this in a sexist or salacious way, but I feel like it's an iconic aspect of the costume. And I feel like when we've seen versions with pants, like the Flash movie, like the later seasons of the Supergirl series, like it's fine. But you know what was really interesting to me, speaking about the Supergirl series with Melissa Benoist, like I watched an interview with her not long ago where she talked about as happy as she was to get pants in the later seasons because they were filming in Vancouver and it was cold. When the show was done and she got to take one costume home, that's not the one she picked. Like she picked the one with the skirt. So I feel like that is an iconic look. So I'm happy with it.
It's weird. Like people complain about that stuff. And I'm like, you know how many women I know that are like, I never want to wear pants. I got a dress that got pockets. I'm wearing a dress or skirt that got pockets. Like, it's just a weird thing for people to say about like, oh, she should be in a skirt. Yo, a lot of women in my life are like, I'm gonna wear a skirt because they're mad comfortable and I don't have to worry about pants. Like it's a great look. It's classic, man. It's classic and it works. I'm not knocking the one that the other girl was in from the Flashpoint flick. Like it's a cool look, but I think when you have this version, you have to go with that look, and they updated it really nicely. It's got the same kind of jagged lines in it that Clark's does. I think it's dope. It's a good look.
All right, should we go to some audience questions and comments?
Yeah, man.
All right, so this is from our Digging for Kryptonite Facebook group. If you're not a member, please join. Some great conversation going on there. So our pal Rick Reason says, I'm even more excited now. I'm even more excited now than I was before. I'll have to go back and read The Woman of Tomorrow. I just bought the deluxe a few months back. I didn't finish the story because I was tired of it by the middle of issue 2, but I've been told it takes until about issue 4 or 5 to really start coming together. This ties back to what you were saying before, DeVoe. Like, I think this is something you definitely want to make sure you carve out. Yeah, it's a dense read. I think you want to make sure you carve out enough time. Maybe it's not something that you do in one day. Maybe you do it over a long weekend or something like that. But I do recommend to Rick and to anyone else, like going back, reading it all the way through, sticking with it. Because I do think ultimately it is a rewarding experience. And again, I say this as someone who's like not a huge Tom King fan.
Yeah. I say split it up for the same reason why, like, I have a Planetary collection. I love Planetary. I'm not reading more than 5 of those in a row. There's just so much to unpack. And I've read them multiple times. And it's just like, no. For this one, let it breathe a little bit. Like, get through an issue, get through another one. If you want to read another one, but like, it's not something that you got to burn right through. It's dense, man, but the story's beautiful. So you want to give it the respect that it's due.
I do also have, and what I read today was the deluxe edition hardcover, which is a great presentation. And I haven't read it yet, but they included Tom King's original rejected script for issue number 6.
No kidding.
Yeah. So he ended up at his editor's insistence rewriting it. And that's how we landed on issue 6, where Kara is riding Comet, the super horse, out racing the Mordru orb or whatever it is. And juxtaposed with that, we have the recounting of her origin story. So, but the original iteration of issue 6 is in there. So that's a cool bonus feature. Terrence says, interesting, exciting. I haven't read Woman of Tomorrow yet, but it's going to be on my Summer of Supergirl graphic novel. There you go. Yeah, there you go. CG says, looks good. Shocked how Justin DeVoe managed to fit in filming for this and Comic-Con.
That was the one. I love that. That one cracked me up.
I love it. Kyle says, DC literally can't help but beat down or piss on Superman in every trailer so far. Looks great, though. But that's what he said looks great, which I enjoyed. I get that sentiment, and I've heard that from others as well. This idea of like, the first Superman teaser, right, started with him having been beaten and he's lying there in the snow, and then we have something like this. So I do get that, but
it's just like anything else. It's like, the old saying, your emotions are like a horse race. The first one out of the gate isn't really the one that wins. So as soon as you see it, of course, you want to be like, oh my God. And then when you actually watch it again, you're like, yeah, no, if you read the side, it's not really what it is at all. That's not what they were going for.
Also, and as always, like I can't get in other people's heads, right? And so I want to be careful how I say this, but I do think, like, if you were not too hot on the Superman movie, right, I think maybe that makes it easier to kind of look at some of these things like Crypto pissing on the newspaper and not necessarily give the film the benefit of the doubt, but feel like, oh, like this is another indignation towards Superman. So, I recognize we all have our different perspectives on this. Jared says, it's a solid teaser, really gives the vibe of what the movie will be. And it looks like it's adapting the important stuff from Woman of Tomorrow. Definitely looking forward to this. Yeah. Trash Bandicoot says, looks great. I'm excited.
I didn't see that name.
Yeah. Jason says, the only thing that sucks is looking at reactors and commenters all mentioning Gunn like it's his movie. Hopefully that gets filtered out before the movie comes out. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, and I feel like this is one of those things where, I mean, I don't think Craig Gillespie is, that much of like a known name director,
right,
household name sort of thing. But also, we talked about this so much in the lead up to Superman. It's like James Gunn really positioned himself as the face and the mascot of DC Studios. Yeah. So I think that kind of feeds into this. Sure. And especially when you see certain sensibilities here that are reminiscent of Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, like it's easy to kind of conflate it, but yes, he's not the director of this film. Robert says it looks good. Really pumped for Lobo. And Eric says it looks pretty solid from these 2 minutes. Looking forward to it. Let me see. We'll move over to the platform formerly known as Twitter. We weren't inundated with comments. The most of them came in our Facebook group. But let's see here. Man of Steven says, I loved it. I think the tone and style seem perfect for this story. Also, that tease of Lobo is all I need.
Yeah, that's it. It was great.
Coach Gordon Bombay says the Krypton flashbacks look cool. Not sure about everything else. Didn't show too much, which is probably good in the long run. I mean, that's another aspect of all of this, right? Like as much as we love doing these reaction episodes, it's like, I also actually don't want to know too much.
No.
Oh, that's kind of, I guess, another thing. And I say all of this being mindful about not spoiling the comic, but because the comic is out there.
Right.
And like, we know this is an adaptation. I feel like this is something any film or TV adaptation of written work has to contend with. It's like, how closely do you adhere to the written story? You want to be faithful to it, right? It clearly worked to an extent, but at the same time, like you want it to be surprising. Like there are a couple of twists, I suppose, in Woman of Tomorrow or things that you wouldn't want spoiled. So it's like, will the movie stick with those and people are just going to know, or are we going to get a twist on it so that people who read the book are still going to be surprised?
I think when you think about the percentage of people who are going to go see a superhero movie that have never read Woman of Tomorrow, I don't think that matters, man. I think the people who've read Women of Tomorrow are going to be like, this is dope. And they changed that. And I think a majority of your average moviegoer ain't going to know a damn thing that's going on outside of what they're looking at.
All right. And then our buddy Zach from Always Hold On to Smallville, he said, Crypto peeing on Superman's picture gives me this energy. And it's a gif of Nightwing or Robin, I guess at this point, from Titans saying F Batman from the pilot. But again, like I say, I look at that, like Kara's on that newspaper too, and it's a much smaller picture and story. And I feel like that's more what's interesting.
And that's
about
the main
that.
point. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And besides, it was just about going on the paper. She was just excited that the dog actually went on the newspaper. She put the paper down.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, that's true. All right. And then we just got a few from Instagram here. Chris says the hype is real. Hunter says excited to see Supergirl really get to be her own person and get to see the L family grow in the DCU. Maybe even Connor one day.
Nice.
Yes, Hunter. I'm there for that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's right up your alley.
And then Lex Luthor's Lair says, looking forward to hearing your thoughts. I liked it. I think it captured the mood of the graphic novel and the look is very cool.
Yeah. I'm seeing, I think it's because people have loosened up a little bit. I'm seeing a lot more positivity about this than I did about the Superman movie, and people liked the Superman movie, but people had all the nonsense to say about that. And I think now that it's loosened up and Afflict did well and it lays good groundwork, I think now people could start having a little bit of fun again. And I think that's what's most important.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, not only am I more relaxed because it's not Superman specifically, but also because like we have that Superman movie under our belts now. Like we know what the vibe, what the sensibilities are. We have a comic that's being adapted, so we have a good sense of what the story is. Yep. So, I mean, I think I find that helpful because I think one of the things that I don't want to be overly dramatic. It was so stressful before the Superman movie, but there is this sense of like, we care so much. We want it to be there. Like, what's it going to be? But it's like now, okay, like whether you love it or you don't, but like, at least now we have more of a sense of what this is going to be. And there's some comfort, I think, to be had in that. And then over on our Facebook page, not the group, but the actual Digging for Kryptonite Facebook page, John says, looks interesting. Follow the S. Yeah. Quoting our pal Ed Gross there. Yeah. Rick Reason pops up again. He says, I want Justin DeVoe to tell us how he really feels. And I commented, I'm like, when? He always does. When does he not?
Everyone's like, we want him to curse.
But I want him to tell us how he really feels. It's like, that's one thing, man. I've never come away from the episode.
Never have to worry about.
And be like, man, he was really holding back. All right. Last couple here. Actually, last one. Brett says, I will sum it up in one word: attitude. I like the vibe it's going for, with Kara being very cynical and dealing with the loss of Krypton and aimlessly going through each day. It gives her an arc where she finds a purpose again. I actually think it works for the character in ways we haven't seen often in the past. I like the line that spells out the difference between her and Superman, where he sees the good in everyone while she sees the truth. As I said, attitude. I'm looking forward to see what the movie does with her. As a child of the 80s, I really appreciated the Blondie needle drop.
I don't think there could have been a better comment, a more well put, astute comment to end this episode on. Like, that was like that. That's it. That summed up the whole thing. Actually, that summed up a lot of what we talked about with, like, the differences and the juxtapositions between the two. It was just like, that's it. That's it. That's what you're looking for when you go into this flick, and that's what you're going to get. And of course she's going to be great. And of course she's going to be, emotional. She's going to get there, but give her an opportunity to be a drunk too, because we want us to watch her grow, and she wants to grow. That's the whole reason why she's on the journey in the first place.
The last thing I'll say, this ties back to kind of the clarity that I gained looking at the John Byrne material, right? Where we had all of these changes to the mythology. And even though I'm more content with where we've landed now in terms of certain aspects of the Superman mythos, as I said in those Byrne episodes, I feel like we kind of needed that pendulum to swing as far as it did, to really strip away. And then you see what is so undeniable that it has to come back, and then you achieve equilibrium.
Yeah.
So I think here, like, I do understand folks who are having a little bit of an issue with this presentation of the character, but I think it is important, especially for this venue, to like draw the distinction as sharply as we are here. And yes, like, it's a bit in your face of her, being drunk and all this stuff. But I think it's important to have that kind of dramatic an example to shake people out of apathy, to quote Batman Begins. And then you see where we go from there. So I appreciate the choice here. I'm open-minded. I'm excited. I'm really excited, like I said, to really dig into Supergirl across time and media. I mean, we're going to be getting into those pre-crisis stories. I'm finally going to be reading that post-crisis Peter David series with the Earthborn Angel iteration of the character. We'll be doing coverage of Smallville. We'll finally be talking about the Melissa Benoist series. I'm going to catch up on the current Sophie Campbell series. Like, we're going to go through as much of it as we can. We have some cool interviews along the way. So I'm really excited.
That sounds awesome.
To get into that next year. It's not where we're starting next year, but we're going to get into it relatively early on, and that will carry us right up into the movie. And my plan is to kind of replicate the kind of coverage that we did this past summer with the Superman movie, with kind of our barrage of episodes, probably one less. I think last year we did 5. I think this time maybe 4, maybe one less, but like, we'll do a pregame, we'll do a couple of reaction episodes, we'll do a ranking, like we'll have so much fun with it. So I honestly, like, that's the aspect I'm most excited about. I think, it's going to be a really, really fun time.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, I was stoked before, and now I'm just even more so. Like, I'm excited about everything that's coming up from everywhere. But after watching this one and seeing how they balanced out what looks like heartbreak and action and badassery, it's going to be dope. It's going to be dope.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much for hopping on here for this
pleasure.
Reaction episode. So thank you, Justin. Thank you, audience. This is not our last episode of the year. We still have the conclusion to our Lois and Clark TV mixtapes event. This coming Tuesday, I'll be joined by the folks from Folks Forever as we count down the top 10 episodes of the series. It's really fun and a great way to cap that event and our 2025 year of coverage here. So make sure that you come back for that. Until then, as always, it's about what you do. It's about action. This podcast is an affiliate of BCW Supplies. The next time you need to restock on comic book bags, boards, boxes, and more, be sure to use promo code FSP to save 10% on your order. That's FSP for Flat Squirrel Productions. It helps support the show too. Thank you. By popular demand, Digging for Kryptonite merch is now available at our TeePublic store. Visit the link in the show notes to get your DFK shirts, hats, mugs, and more. Support the show and receive exclusive content, including the spin-off podcast Beyond Metropolis, by becoming a member at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. My sincere thanks to all patrons. Please subscribe, rate, and review today via your platform of choice, and continue the conversation by joining us on social media. Flat Squirrel Podcast is also home to another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman, now covering the color era of the classic George Reeves series. Subscribe today. Digging for Kryptonite is a Flat Squirrel production. Key art by Isaiah Simmons and theme music by Dan Pritchard.